Hey, Ange.
Hey Les, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. This is the great Les on very little sleep. I was
Oh,
on call last night and into today, and recently got back from the hospital. Got in about 9 o'clock last night, and then at 2 in the morning they called me to go back to the hospital. So I just got back. But
what
here
a
I am, and I get energized by being here. So
yes.
Yes.
I'm
If you hadn't
ready.
told us that,
Ready.
we wouldn't have known.
So there you go. I'm ready.
Yes.
So, welcome to another episode of Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. I'm so happy today. Brooklyn. I heard that three times. Brooklyn.
So nice you had to say it thrice.
Three times. Thrice. You're so corny. Oh my gosh. You're
You
so
laughed almost like you fell out your chair,
every
Ange.
I'm a sucker for your corny
I
jokes. I
guess
really
so.
am.
I guess so. So, we're delighted to welcome a special guest today. And you know how we do when we have our guests. We like get all in there and we love up on
Yes.
them and we draw all the
Yes.
info we can out of them and then we make them
Right.
honorary besties, all those things. So that's what's going to happen today.
Absolutely.
I'll let you introduce this guest today.
Okay.
Ange.
Just right up front, we don't have a formal bio for Carla because it was just yesterday that I'm like, oh my gosh, you've got to get on our podcast. And I'll tell you in a moment what happened and why I did that. A little background about Carla, and Carla, you can fill in after I finish because
Absolutely.
I'm kind of I'm definitely going to get emotional. I'm not even going to apologize for it. I'm not going to try to hold it back. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to just be completely in my feelings because Carla is someone that I have known for, I don't know how long it's been, Carla. It feels like a few
Like 15
lifetimes,
years. Yeah.
because we've been through a lot together, personally and professionally. Carla is someone that I used to work with, and we have done a lot of heavy lifting in the workplace and
Mhm.
helping people to behave properly and to make forward movement when it was really difficult to do that. We're two Black women, two of the few in our IT organization, and so we've done some incredible and difficult work there, and in our personal relationship also. And I mean, Carla has traveled the world, just Japan, Dubai, India, worked in several of these places. I hold her in such a high regard, myself and my children, and is a licensed social worker, just has a lot of commas and
Letters. A
letters
lot of letters.
after her name, and PMP, project management professional, just all the things. And why I asked her to come on at this point is because we met for lunch yesterday, and Carla knows how to handle me because she had a surprise for me, right? I get excited to see her anyway because she's one of those people who you never ever leave Carla's presence without feeling seen and being taught something,
Mm,
just being poured
Thank you.
into. It's just kind of how she shows up for everyone, even if people don't acknowledge it or kind of feel it in the moment. It's because they have a barrier up. It's not because she doesn't offer it.
mm.
That's
Period.
beautiful.
100%.
Yes.
So Carla has this fly new car, right? We both have these red vehicles that
You
we
inspired
just
me to
kind of.
get a red car.
Oh, did
You did.
Leslie doesn't like that.
It was an
Leslie,
imprint.
Okay,
Leslie
okay,
still,
okay.
Cars. I wonder why I'm only looking at red cars. Yes.
Leslie's still mad that I got a charger because she didn't know that
I
there
just
was
don't
that
get
side of
it.
me. She just didn't
I
know.
just never
So
thought that.
anyway,
Yeah.
Carla pulls up for us to go to lunch together, and I I approach the door of the car and I open it and I see Carla in this new way that I've never seen her before. In all of these years, I've never seen her this way. And I could not get in. I was so overcome by her radiance, always that, but not like this.
Mm.
I was overcome by the courage that just kind of exuded because I know what her journey has been around it. And I'll just say this is around her new hairstyle. I know that she's been on this journey because I've seen it, and you guys know that hair is my thing. Like I
Hmm.
know what's behind hairstyles. I know that especially as Black women, kind of some of what the emotional and the kind of the ways that we see ourselves and the ways that we code switch and the ways that we mask and the ways that
Yeah.
we unmask, how all
Hmm.
of that shows up through our
Hmm.
hair. And so when I saw Carla show up this way, I knew that, I mean, honestly, when I opened the door, it just kind of like whoosh.
Whoosh.
And it was a beautiful whoosh. It wasn't like
Yes.
it was a lot.
Hmm.
It was a lot. Like the tears just came. It was a
The other
lot.
thing that I'm hearing from what you're saying is that you are no longer in that corporate environment, Ange, but
Right.
Carla is.
Carla is.
And that also has a whole other nuance
Right.
and day-to-day living
Yes.
and in
Yes.
feelings and in expressions and in responses, you
Yes.
know.
Yes. All of
So
that.
Ange said she was going to be crying. I can't even see you guys right now. I'm going to take my glasses off and just sort of fix my face, as my mom would
Wow.
say. Um, because this is, Angela is such a beautiful person. Everything that she's saying about me, I feel the same way about her. So she's just mirroring, we're just mirroring back to each other, right? This radiance and this all encompassing, like hug that she gives everyone and the love that you feel. And I feel like I'm family, just having met her when we met 15 years ago. And that feeling has just continued, through all the years. And so I knew she was going to be shocked because, full disclosure, last time she saw me, I had a curly weave down to my shoulder. I mean, it was fly, but
Yes.
it was one of those things where a couple years ago I was going on vacation and I just wanted ease, which is nothing wrong with that. And then 2 years went by and I either, between the curly weave or the crocheted locks or braids, my hair was covered for 2 years and there wasn't a plan. I wasn't even conscious of it. I just know I had a lot of things to do and I just needed to be able to just go and be ready wherever I was. And I remember the last time that we had coffee, we met for coffee about a month ago. I was talking about all the work things. And I said, and then this, you remember me doing this and saying this,
Yeah. Yeah.
I went into back. So my journey with this particular company has been over a course of 17 years. And when I initially came, I had long, straight, part banker sort of hairstyle. That's what I call it. And then I want to say, so 2007, 2 years later, I went natural. And, when we first go natural, we think it's going to be curly, wavy, loose curls. And then, all of our texture and all of this beauty and kink and cool shows up. And you're like, ugh, I wasn't thinking it was going to look like this. And so I straightened it and then very quickly realized that, okay, this is not about straight or curly. This is just about me being comfortable with my own texture and how it shows up and what it looks like. And so I quickly cut it again and let it grow. And so between 2009 and 2022, My hair was natural. It was blonde. It was red. It was brown. It was a big afro. It was a short afro and all the things in between. And I just loved it and really embraced it. And so when I went back to this company in 2021 with my full afro, I mean, I'm talking about my hair was out to here and I just loved it. And I just that was my way of sort of pushing the buttons and the envelopes and all the things. And you think that you're going to get this, but you're going to get that. And being very conscious of that. So then for variety's sake, change my hair and then look up and 2 years have gone by. I was like, who is this person? Right? What does this mean? And what is this sort of translation that's happening, in my physical exterior and then all of the things that are happening, internally. And so one of the things that I did with my hairdresser, who she's a beautiful person, she kept asking me, I had a full weave with no leave out, but I was still having her dye my hair for a year. And she was like, why are you doing that? Nothing's showing. What is this? I said, I don't want a greatest show. I'm not ready for that. I'm still trying to pull the young guys and all this stuff, And we laugh about it, but she was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, yes, I'm vain. That's what it is. And that's what it's been, And so finally one time I said, okay, Tara, don't color it. You're right. It doesn't make sense. I'm losing my edges and this doesn't make sense. And so for probably 8 months, I didn't have her color it, but I still don't you let not one peep show. If the little curls started to come out, I would have the black mascara to kind of cover it. This is
so you were not there yet.
I was not there. And so I have been talking about it and thinking about it. And this time I was getting ready for a week of PTO. And I said, well, if I'm going to do this transition, this is probably be a good time because I need to sort of put it on like a coat and feel it, see how it feels, see what I think. And if I don't like it, I still have time to change it before I go back to work.
You left yourself an out. That's my God.
Exactly.
That's my God.
So I have to tell you this part of the story, which is really beautiful. So I'm still all the way up to the door, like him and Han going back and forth. And I say, I still have time to go get hair. I did, all the things. And so I go into the shop and there's this beautiful, regal Black woman. And I want to say she's in her 70s or 80s. And she has this beautiful, silver hair. And she's in the chair and she's like, take it off. I'll just take it all off and just cut it down as low as you possibly can because, I just don't want to do hair because of the weather. Right. Mm-hmm. And I looked at her and how regal she was with the silver hair and how beautiful she was and how just clear she was that, okay, this is the season for taking it all off and not having any encumbrance. And I told my hairstylist, I said, I'm ready. I'm ready. And she's like, you sure?
I have what she's having.
Right. And so then I could feel the liberation in it, right? Like this doesn't define who I am. The color doesn't define who I am. The texture, none of that. I've already sort of gone through all the layers of texture, length, professional, not professional. And I thought I was done with all of this. But this next level has to do with aging, if I'm really honest, really having an acceptance for where I am in my lifespan journey, right?
Wow, we've been talking about that a lot. It's interesting that it comes up. It shows up in so many ways, so many ways.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what I realized just in the 4 or 5 days, because it just happened Friday, but it feels like a lifetime, is that, what it forced me to look at is like, what else is going on that you're now comfortable with? So yesterday we went to get oysters and we're sitting inside. And one guy comes in, he gets out of his car, he has a cane. Another guy comes, he has a cane. And I promise you, it took him like 15 minutes to walk to like a few hundred yards in front of us. And so I'm sitting here with my partner and I'm like, what the heck is going on, here? And it was like, I'll be doggone if that's going to be me. Right. And so really looking at, it's not just the hair, it's like, how am I feeling in my body? Like, what are some of the limitations that are happening around movement and how I sort of perceive myself and my ability and the things that I can do in this phase of my life? So all of that stuff is coming up. And I believe that, these things come up for us to put some sun on them, literally, and, shine a light and sort of, do this sort of cleanse around, not letting it be a thing, not letting it be any way defining who you are as a human being and what you're capable of.
Yes.
Wow.
All of it.
Wow.
So I did get on my yoga mat after the horse lessons. I was like,
but we laugh.
Going down.
It's all of those things.
Yes.
It's all of those things. Before I get into asking or digging deeper into this, Carla, could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are, from whence you come, and we don't even know your name.
You mean everybody doesn't know Carla? Okay.
We just started chatting like the three besties that we are, but
Yes, I feel like an honorary bestie because I've heard, Angela talk about it in such a loving way.
Time.
Yes, exactly. So my name is Carla Forte, and so I have a very interesting set of skills. I say like Liam Neeson. Yeah, I have a particular set of skills. So I actually have been in IT for over 20 years, but somewhere in the middle, like in the beginning, I had gone to school and got my master's in social work. I always wanted to be a therapist, but I had a business background. And so I didn't really fit in a box neatly, right? I had some development experience and I just like, okay, well, I'm not sure what this is going to look like. So in figuring all of that out, I got asked to do a corporate role at this particular company. And it was a friend of a friend who said, hey, they're going to fire this girl. Can you do this project real quick? And I was like, sure. And the day after I got there, the person who hired me said, okay, and this was like in 2007, so before cell phones. She said, I'm going to China. You got everything? Okay, you won't be able to contact me, but good luck. And I was like, oh my gosh, right? So, I had come from an environment where, as a project manager, you you do the requirements for the customer and you go all the way to the end to delivery. So I was doing everything in this big company because that's how I was trained to manage projects. And they were like, that's not your job. Somebody over there does that. And somebody over here does this. And so by the time she came back, I was in everybody's business and everybody was saying, oh, she's a rock star.
But you thought you were doing your job. You thought that's how everybody does it.
It was out of ignorance, sheer ignorance. And so that sort of brought me on to become a permanent employee. And then I look up and 4 years have gone by and I was like, that was not my plan. This was supposed to be a stop, not a destination. And so I left that company to get licensed and to start a private practice as a mental health therapist. And so I did that and I was very happy, about that. But life is how they say life be lifing. And so I ended up going through a divorce and I had 2 children and we had a lifestyle. So I literally, and I'll tell this story because this is an Angela's story. I was doing some IT work while I was building a private practice and I did that for 10 years and people, I didn't sleep much and I was teaching yoga. But the story that brings Angela into this is that she had been my manager in like 2009 and she'll say coworker. She was my manager. And in this was 2012. So I had left the company in 2011. And so we hadn't talked in a while, but out of the blue, she calls me and she says, I have some money. Do you have some time? Sounds like a Donna Summer song, but that's literally what she said. And so, but nobody knew that I had just, separated 2 months earlier. And I'm looking at the phone like, how does this woman know I need money? Because I needed money at that time. And that was the first time that I came back to the company to do some contract work. And then that was short. And then somebody else said, hey, I heard you're doing, and they brought me back again. And this is literally the 6th time that I've come back to this company and do this work. And so I had a really, I'm claiming her as a friend, say to me, girl, if you don't know you're on assignment here, I don't know what to tell you. 6 times coming back to the same place.
Yeah, that's good.
I didn't get fired. I didn't get let go. I'm coming back on my own and really feeling like this time it's like there's this opportunity that wasn't there before, or at least I couldn't see it for myself. And the opportunity is that I'm literally talking about mental health for Blacks at this company, like openly, like they're calling me doctor. I don't have a doctorate, but they're like, hey, can we hear from Dr. Carla on this? And
Yeah.
I have this thing where I say, when you find yourself saying you can't make this shit up, God is all in that. And I did say shit and God at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I certainly get it.
This is what's happening.
Ange sometimes calls them God moments.
Mm-hmm.
But the revelation is real and profound.
Yes.
When you're in a space, whatever that space may be, and your space is certainly nothing that I would be comfortable with. But when you sit in it and look around and it's like, yeah, it's life sustaining and not draining.
Yes.
When it's hard work, but you look forward to it.
Yes.
It's almost like it's your heart space.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is.
And that's what we look for. And some people are blessed enough to find it in their 30s or 40s. I think that's rare. But or they may find it then, but not appreciate it until they become a little bit more sophisticated.
Absolutely.
Wise is the word.
Yes. Yeah, in the wisdom of it.
Yes. I totally agree with you.
In my case, I was fortunate to have dabbled in other things before I found my niche. So I was the high school science teacher. I worked in a physical therapy practice and different things. But when I went to medical school and became an anesthesiologist, that's when I found home. When I could, work for hours or days straight, and still feel filled. When I still say I would do my work without getting paid for it. I've been a medical missionary for free, a volunteer, so it's those kind of things that people look for.
Absolutely. And invite you to the table, right? Because one of the things that happened is that we have a group for Black women at the company, and the person who was running that group, she got promoted like 2 or 3 times. She was overwhelmed, and she said, "Hey, can you just take this?" We were going to sort of co-chair, and then she just handed it over, and so that opened up a space for me to talk about some of these things just with Black women. And then another dear friend who left the company, who was leading the well-being pillar for the Blacks at the company, she said, "Can you take this on? Because I know you get it, right? What I was trying to build. And now I have her legacy, to build on." And when I tell you, like, you just can't make this up. Like, how wonderful is it? I get to do, like, the work that I love and talk about the things that I'm passionate about, in space where I thought there was never going to be space for that. Like, that's not a job. That's a side project. That's a volunteer thing. That's not a job, and then, so let's go back to tying this to the hair thing, right? So here I am finding my authentic voice in this space where lots of times you believe that voice isn't appreciated. I'll talk a little bit about the project and bring it through to this, which was when I came back and I worked on this project, I was a contractor. And there's some freedom in that, right? Like, I don't have to, play by all the rules that everybody else does if I'm a contractor. At least that's what I'm thinking in my mind. And so I was the one in the meetings oftentimes saying, "That's not going to work. We can't do that." And I'm thinking, they're going to fire me at any point because they're going to be like, "She's Debbie Downer. She's not, nodding her head and she's not saying." But then that became a part of my brand, not negativity, but she's going to tell you the truth. She's going to tell you what's possible. And if she says that this is what it is, this is what it is. Right.
Yeah,
and we can
you have a history, you know.
Exactly. And then we go into this space, I'm saying season, where now I'm being asked, well, what do you think about this? And what do you have to say about,
Let's see what Carla thinks.
Yes. Yes. And And it's not, and it's not even about telling people what to do. It's not, it's like, let me share this story. And that's what I feel like I'm doing all the time. I'm just sharing stories of lived experiences, things that people have shared with me that, everyone can relate to. And in each story, you find a little bit of yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, I was very clear about this, even when I was practicing as a therapist, that you already know what it is. I'm just, connecting the dots and reminding you of what you already know.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of like a guide, if that makes sense. Nothing more, nothing less.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Whew. So when you talked about this extra thing that you're doing around the Black employees and the kind of subgroup around Black women,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what is going on in the other part of your work, that becomes like a place of rejuvenation.
Absolutely.
And one can find that in a workplace, maybe in very different ways, but it's such an example of, listen, this is where you spend a lot of your time. This is where you're around people all the time. If you're not seeking places of where you can get energy, where you can find a place to be completely yourself. That's work that you have to do. That's
Yes.
stuff you have to look for.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You don't have to be in these situations where things are just sucking the life out of you because
But Ange, that's almost like career 2.0 or 3.0.
yeah,
We're
yeah,
baby boomers and we're of the generation where tradition was that you work for a period in a discrete period of your life. It could be until age 65, let's just say, and you were not supposed to get all of this emotional fulfillment from your
Yes.
work per se. You were
right,
supposed to get that from the things outside of your work. So after 5 p.m. and after age 65.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
what new science and investigation is telling folk is that if you spend 40 years in a place that sucks your energy and
Mm-hmm.
that drains your emotions and that you bristle and your shoulders go up when you walk in the building and they only come down when you leave, the
Yeah.
weathering
Yes.
of decades of those behaviors
yeah,
will inform how you live in retirement and
yes,
how you live after 5 p.m.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. I
So
think,
that's the nuance. People
it
are not
is.
looking for fulfillment, emotional fulfillment. We're looking for a paycheck.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can remember even before, like Angela was my manager and thinking, I don't want to do this work. This work is just, I'm not connected to it. I don't get it, most of the time. And realizing that, it wasn't going to be contained in that 40 hours. And so what I did at the time, still having a passion for mental health, is that I served on a board and I leveraged the company to sort of do matching things. And that was the way that I sort of connected the dots
Ah,
outside
wow.
of my day to day. But
Yeah.
I think it is not impossible in this day and time with the new thought process to figure out ways to bring that passion and that energy to your day
Right.
to day.
Right.
And I feel fortunate because I wasn't actually seeking it necessarily. I didn't even know I needed it. But, now having stepped into this space where now I'm considered a leader around well-being in this space, it's like now my mind is just going on steroids trying to figure out all the ways that I can connect the dots
Mm-hmm.
and all the people that I can connect and how I can use sort of this other set of skills around, relationship building and connecting dots and being strategic to also amplify well-being in this space and in this company first for us, and I say first for us because I am a Black woman. I had a friend years ago. She talked about there's a book that's called a God That Looks Like Me, and she was a white woman, and she talked about what does God look like when you pray to him or her. She said, I can't pray to a male God. That's just like, that doesn't work for me. And so what it forced me to think, I said, I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I said, but before I can say that I'm a woman, I'm Black. Like I that's something I can't hide. When I come in the room, I sort of lead with Black, and then women and all the other isms and things that go with that, And so now, part of this hair story, because again, I've had my hair natural, I've had my hair short, is the gray and embracing that. Also, what's coming with me is age, sometimes wisdom, most of the time wisdom, but what does that look like also in the workplace? And how do you welcome that and nourish that and make sure that you're modeling, what aging gracefully looks like?
Right.
Let me tell you, like when we were we arrived at the lunch, I was thinking, as Carla was kind of stepping out of her badass car, I was like, do you know how we're reflecting what older can be to younger people?
That's where the podcast originated, Anne.
Exactly.
In our early meetings, even before we ever before we purchased the microphone off of Amazon, we had these thought meetings about what we wanted to do and what we wanted to portray to others.
We did the whole thing. Y'all think
We really did. We
thing.
sat down because we looked at the trajectories of our lives and our interpersonal relationship and said, what is it that is special about us?
Yeah. Who are we trying to reach, and what is the message we're trying to give them? And all of that is, we were really clear.
We were very really clear and intentional. And not just that, Ange, you remind me that I have an obligation.
Yes.
I've been blessed, and hence we've been blessed with certain gifts. Everybody has gifts, but some people haven't identified their gifts. We're all here for a reason. I believe that. But when you can tap into your purpose and when you understand the why of your gifts, then I believe it's your obligation to share it with the world.
Yeah.
And this was the way that we came up with, and we're having a good old time doing it. But this is the way, nobody said that sharing your gift is supposed to be miserable,
Right.
It's even better when it's fun and it's enriching.
Absolutely.
But so when you just said, Ange, that you got out and you realized that some people may be watching you. I remember, I'll never forget that you told me it was one of your experiences while you were still working in corporate at this IT company, that a coworker or someone said to you, there's something about you, Angela. There's something different about you. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
But let me tell you this, Leslie, that's how she ended up becoming my manager, because I remember a couple years before it happened, I saw this woman, and I think you had your hair like it was a short fro at the time. And I said, and you sent a message talking about your parents and how you were going to take a sabbatical to go care for your parents. And it was a very heartfelt message. It was beautifully written. And when I saw it, I said, I want to work for someone like that.
Oh.
And then we ended up, it was a chance meeting in the elevator. I said, you're that lady, you're that,
Oh my gosh.
And then not even a year later, there was a reorg, and she became my manager. And I was just over the moon because I felt like, here's someone who gets it, here's someone who knows that you can always find a job, but you can't get time with your parents back, your loved ones, and, doing the things that, again, that we're responsible for, not just out of obligation, but just out of reverence and respect,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Well,
Yes.
you had that experience at the company. I almost said the name at the company, but in 1978, I had that experience in the hallways of Brooklyn Tech High School.
Yes.
You were in
I wasn't
architecture.
alive yet.
You you were in architecture. I was in chemistry, so we didn't have classes together. But somehow our circles overlapped.
Yes.
And we became inseparable in 1978.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that's
Inseparable.
46 years ago.
And the thing is that, so Leslie, I hate chemistry.
Come on.
Hate
Come on.
chemistry.
You
I
cut me
still
deep.
hate chemistry. I still hate chemistry. I was the physics person and Leslie was the chemistry. We really were geeks. We really were. We just didn't look like it.
Right.
But
With stage light makeup
really
on.
Geeks. Right, with stage light. For the discos that we hardly went to. So there are these two people, and it's just kind of energetically, we came together and we saw each other, beyond the things that we were not, the ways that we were not alike. We found each other. We loved to sew, so we got together around sewing.
And at the
Nobody
time,
else was
Brooklyn
doing
Tech
that.
had over 7,000 students.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
found
it's
each other.
huge.
It was like
It's-
kismet
yeah.
across the room. And here we are
We
with
have to
gray
post-
hair.
We found one picture of us in, I think it was in my architecture class. You came to visit.
Cutting my classes,
all
probably.
linked up.
Hanging.
Huh?
Just hanging out in another class, cutting my class.
Oh, I know you came to visit me because you always
Yeah.
were like the social butterfly.
I was.
So
Ange
we'll
was
post it.
shyer
We'll
at
put
the
it on
time.
Patreon. Right? What's that?
You were always
I was-
shy at the time, and I was the
yeah, I was
outgoing,
shy.
like,
Yeah.
the drama
They
queen.
came to me like when they wanted to do something wrong, it was like, let me just check with Ange. Okay, I'm about to do something. I know I'm gonna.
Let me see how this goes over, how this sounds for her. And
Yes.
we even talk about how appreciative we are that your mother allowed you to hang out with me and befriend and be my best friend,
Yeah.
because
See,
we were kind of different, but
we were very different. But mommy saw who you were.
Yeah.
You were too.
so
We're
running short on time. We can reminisce for a long time.
Okay. And we're going to reminisce for our Patreon subscribers too. But
Okay.
I just wanted to kind of say that that the thread that I want to kind of pull out in what all that Carla shared is that there's this journey that we're all on. There's this journey that we're all on. It's not an arrival. It's not this place that it's allowing ourselves to kind of to become whatever is needed at that time. It's allowing ourselves to become. And when we do that work, the way that we show up for other people is so incredible and so it's kind of why we're here, is to always be in this state of I don't even want to call it improving, because it's not that has some connotations that I'm not comfortable with. It's all in the state of evolving
Absolutely.
to this next level of who we are, and people are always watching, and you
I'm thinking of
think that nobody's watching you.
self-actualization.
Well, it's
Yes.
the self. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So when I saw Miss Carla, when I saw Carla, that is everything that I felt, because I'm so in tune with these things for myself, and I knew that that is what Carla was going through, and it was so very powerful, so powerful. So that's why the tears
Yeah.
came down for both of us,
And that's why we
Yeah.
had to
and we
talk.
couldn't.
And they continue
You
to
know,
come. Yeah.
that's why this had to happen, and I'm so grateful that we had this platform to kind of amplify it and share it with all of you guys.
Okay, here's my question. You ladies,
Yes.
you got it all together. When is my turn? What I gotta do? Who I gotta know?
Listen, we all do it in different ways, right? You got your you call them dentures. You got your
I got my
Invisalign now.
dentist. You weren't able to hear by now, but what Carla was able to hear me. You hadn't put your ears on as yet, and I said, "Hey, Carla," I said, "I'm looking for my teeth." She said, "Your teeth, or is it your tea?" I said, "No, it's my teeth." She probably said, "What the hell happened to
I'm like, okay,
that she got to
all right.
look for her teeth before she goes on?" But that's what I call my Invisalign braces, my teeth.
Yes.
She's
I
like,
don't know
"What?"
why,
So
but
can I say one last thing before we wrap up?
Sure,
So
absolutely.
when I think about the thread, right, that's common with all of what we've been talking about, I want to bring up this term grief. And I'm bringing it up intentionally because I want us to get comfortable with that. Because for me, grief is not about death. It is about the reconciliation that, I think I'm here, but I'm really here. And what does that look like, to sort of do the reconciliation? And so when we talk about this hair and the significance of it, this is the reconciliation of not only has my journey looked like all the things we shared and talked about, it also looks like this. And when you said that word responsibility or obligation, I have an obligation to show that all the goodness that we have and that we experience, it can also look like this.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's where I think this is sort of leading me into the next phase of my life. And, as an elder, right?
Yes.
Because I'm no longer like hot, like sex kitten, even though, still cute, but
Even though, yeah.
I can sort of lay that down.
Different.
Yeah, you still get out of a car
expanding
and
what that looks like. Yeah.
But I
y'all
can
don't
lay
see the rest
that
of her.
down.
But anyway.
Yeah, intentionally lay that down and pick up, this new, right?
Got you.
I'm inviting us to do a part 2 of this. Because Carla, what you said about what this looks like and the next phase, I would love to talk a little bit more about really, especially with your work in mental health and social work, what the journey looks and feels like. Because I have reticence into, I'm change averse. I resist what some people might even say progress. Very often I'm afraid to go very deep. I don't care for writing things down and looking at it again. But that clearly indicates the whole constellation of these feelings. Just talking about writing, I often start sweating and getting warm.
Yes.
Yeah.
It becomes a physical thing. So what that tells me is that there is some blockage that maybe I need to identify, face. I don't mind talking about it, but I'd love not to let it lie right here.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I'll just say just quickly that life transitions, like if we were in other cultures, we would have a ritual for every sort of life transition and phase of life and all those things. And we have some, but we actually don't celebrate going into menopause, or, there's a term called crone, like that. We think of that as an old lady bent over with a cane and, white hair down to her back. And there are other ways that you can look at that and embrace that and understand that with the things that we have to let go. And don't get me wrong, I'm very, comfortable in my sexuality, but in letting go of having to be, the hot chick in the room, I can also embrace some other things. It's almost like, the question is, what do you want to contain for yourself in this phase of life? And it's going to be different for everybody. You know what I mean? And so that's one of the things that, okay, I can let that go so that I can bring in some other things, right?
Yeah,
and weave in some other
I can make
things.
room for something else.
Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly.
Yes.
What are you all
Wow.
making room for?
Making room for. What are y'all making room for? Listen.
Yes.
Listen. Look, we're gonna have to have like a VIP day. We're gonna have to have like a retreat or something. It's been
Absolutely. I love
like
it.
We've been
I haven't
talking
said
about
it
it.
out loud in a, but it's just kind of we have to and invite people like Carla and just kind of get at some of the stuff that's in the way.
Dig in deep.
Listen,
Yeah,
there are
'cause
not
it's
that
more.
many shopping days till Christmas, people.
Yeah.
We
I
gotta
love it.
like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
To
This
be
is the time.
continued, and
To be continued.
and Ange, well, you and I will make it an agenda item that we need to develop more.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
ma'am.
wow.
Thank you guys. It was so fun.
This was wonderful. So Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn is produced by Angela Fraser. Our editing team is by Matt Dershowitz. And our social media and marketing team is from Couture Copywriting. So this has been another great episode of Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn.